Welcome to the Forward Marketing Podcast, the podcast that covers internet marketing strategies and leadership tactics to move your business forward. With your host, Joshua Jarvis. Welcome to another episode of Forward Marketing. Again, I am your host, Joshua Jarvis, and I'm enjoying this growth hacking summer. I don't know about you. One of the things I've noticed is that some of the episodes have been kind of down a little bit, and that's because I'm sitting down. So just as a reminder, this is like a bonus tip that normally we talk about growth hacking and internet marketing, but this is a little sales tip, is that if you're making sales calls, you need to be standing up, not sitting down. And so I've been listening to myself going, man, it sounds a little boring. And it's because I'm sitting down. My voice is down because I'm looking down at the microphone. I am kind of hovered over a computer. And so I'm going to stand up. And it may mean that I walk away from my notes and I may say a bunch of uhs and ahs. But even as I'm recording this, I'm looking at the wave, the image of the wave file, and I notice that it is bigger than normal. And I'm guessing I probably won't have to amplify my voice at all on this episode because I'm not hunched over talking to the microphone that way. So, wow, super bonus tip. Maybe I should put sales bonus tip. Maybe I should charge you guys for that. 15 years in sales. And maybe I should make a podcast on sales. So, hey, if you like that idea, then go ahead and email me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. That's joshua@4rdmarketing.com. So, I get a lot of calls from people that are basically call spamming, so cold calls and telemarketers, and they always ask for 4RD marketing. And so I spell that out every episode, but just in case, this is how I'll know you're a listener. If you see me outside or you email me and we have a conversation, or so we have a verbal conversation, then you know that 4RD actually means forward. Like, I move your business forward. So that's the whole point of that. So in any case, it's just one of my little pet peeves when people call me and they go 4RD, and it's a cool conversation to explain it to them, but it means they did not listen to the podcast, they did not read the copy on the website, and maybe I need to do a better job of that. I don't know. So last week we talked about the 6 ways that Instagram sort of ranks or organizes the feed for you, and I wasn't as excited as I was excited about the actual content, but I wasn't as excited about my episodes. So I apologize to you. Hopefully, though, you still found it useful, because there's really some cool ways that you can use that information to, or just be aware of what you're doing. It's kind of like when Facebook, when they talked about the edge rank and all those things, and people try to do these posts where they increase their edge rank. So they would ask these open-ended questions. You'd see, and the really lame ones are like, would you? And it's like a picture of someone or a video of someone, doing like a tightrope across a mountain or something like that. And then you get all these comments from your friends that because they think you're posting something legit, and really it was something you're just trying to do to increase your edge rank. And so Instagram's kind of like that right now. So you could get a bunch of maybe a group, or you could pay for people to interact with your interact with your account. The big thing, though, is that if they're interacting, they need to be part of your audience. And so that's kind of how Instagram sort of self-governs itself, is that, if you're doing artificial ways of increasing your account, that, you're not going to be very successful unless those same artificial ways are sort of representative of your target audience. So that was last week. The week before last, we talked about the 17 tips and tactics on how to sort of crush it with landing pages. And also last week, I mentioned that there's a resource for landing pages that if you listen to this stuff and you're like, man, I really wish there was a guide to walk me through it, that Thrive Themes have come out with this, and I create a little link for you. It's at 4rd.us, so forward.us/LTP. And LTP stands for, don't say that. It's TLP, sorry. And TLP stands for Thrive Landing Pages. And so basically it just tells you that you can go there and it'll walk you through how to create a landing page and Thrive. And Thrive, the builder that they use, is just one of the best things I've ever used. And again, they're not paying me to say this, although I am an affiliate. So if you go to my website or you go to that link, that's forward.us/TLP. And if you go there and you sign up, then I do get something small. But it's one of the few products that I'm actually happy to promote because it's so good. And it's so worth it because a lot of these builders on WordPress, you spend so much time just waiting for things to load and learn, and the learning curve is so high. This is really simple. But today's episode is actually the 6 killer content creation tactics that steps up your content. Wow, that was duplicative there. What did I used to say in high school? We would say, that you got the redundancy reward for redundancy, there. But so I'm gonna have to clean up that title by the time you hear this. But in any case, you'll probably hear all of this. So these and this is also an acrostic or an acronym, if you will. STEPPS is STEPPS. And I had seen this post that referenced the book from Jonah Berger, where he talks about contagious content and how to be viral and what makes viral content. And so he has these different letters associated with the type of content. And so it's really these 6 things that are key components of every sort of viral piece of content. And it's really a great guide for you. And I thought, in the middle of this growth hacking series that we've been doing, particularly with these different social media things, and really this applies to blog posts, any content that you create, that it's really important that you sort of know what works, how, and when you listen to this episode, you'll actually hear the same sort of tips that I gave when I talked about Instagram and Pinterest and some of the other ones. And it's just a theme that's been running all year long, all the way back to, and if you want a really good episode, go all the way back to Future-Proof Marketing, where I talk about, these things. So they go hand in hand. It's probably still my favorite episode, Future-Proof Marketing, because really every episode I've done has been kind of a subset of that same one since the beginning. So maybe I should just call this podcast Future-Proof Marketing. But in any case, the S in STEPPS stands for social currency. Now, this one was one of the harder ones to sort of get my mind around. But the concept is that it's content that gives your audience status. It's content that makes them feel like an insider. So a good way to look at this is maybe like a Facebook post. And, you could say, come buy my product. Well, that didn't have any social status, right? But you could say exclusive product, only for members, blah, 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 right? So the exclusivity is the part that makes it have a social status. You could post something like, did you know? And the people that are on your page, like people who like this page, did you know people who like my page are getting this specific coupon code, or they're getting this piece of information. And I searched long and hard to try to find how specifically to execute this sort of social currency. And what I came up with was basically a sort of a curiosity around exclusivity, or sort of the ultimative scarcity model. So like what I'm trying to get at is, so when you do scarcity, you're saying, in sales. So like at the beginning, I gave you the sales tip, and one of the sales techniques that you use is sort of being not attached to the outcome. And so you could sort of do what they call a takeaway. Or you could do something where you imply there's some scarcity in mind. So for instance, in real estate, it's a great example. One of the things you could do at an appointment is say that, you already lay out the expectations. There's some different things that can happen tonight, Mr. Seller. One of them is that you decide that I'm the best agent for you and we agree to work together. Another one is that you decide that I'm not the right agent for you to work together. And then the third option is I decide that you're not the right client for me, right? So the last option is that scarcity option. And that's also a way to give some social currency to it that, hey, there's only a limited number of people There's only a limited number of people that can interact with this content, that can take advantage of this offer. Events are great examples of social currency. And you don't have to have all of these in all of the, like, to the 10th degree in order to make them work. But it's something to think about when you make posts is, does it offer my audience a status? Does it give them some sort of insider information? Do they feel like they belong as a part of the tribe by interacting with this piece of content? And that's probably the best way to look at it. So the T, so steps. So S was social currency. T is triggers. Now, triggers are these sort of things in your mind that sort of trigger something. It can be like a brand name that sort of triggers your mind to think about that. A good example, though, is more behavior or habits that go into this. And so we know that that people tend to think of, I'm trying to think of a really good example here, and I'm doing it off the top of my head. So but bleh. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So the T in STEPPS is triggers. And so triggers are like habits or sort of behaviors that that are going to work. So like one of the last episodes, we talked about how people prefer, so it's a behavior, that they prefer 2 items as opposed to a combo item. So they prefer cookies and then muffins as an offer as opposed to cookies and muffins together as a bundle. And so the research shows that. So if this is a behavior, this is a known sort of trigger, if you will, then you would always offer sort of add-on items as individual things and not as not as a combo. And same thing with the discount thing. We know that statistically, when you have a coupon code offer, people leave your page and go look for coupons on the internet. And when you change that, you take that away and you give it to them. That's a change. So that's an example of a trigger. But how does it relate to your social currency? So, how does it relate to your content that you're posting on social media? And it's something that you should just be aware of, that that when you're posting, that there could be a trigger, there could be some sort of mechanism that a habit, like I said, some sort of hook that keeps the idea top of mind. There's some sort of trigger. How can they stay top of mind? A lot of brands do this. You think of Kleenex as the only, like, that's become so household name that's kind of a trigger in a sense. And that was actually the example they used was a trigger was that the brand becomes synonymous with the actual item that you need. So tough concept, and it gets a little bit easier when you start to look at these, but as a whole, as opposed to tearing them apart side by side. But so steps, so social currency. The other thing is triggers. So look for behaviors, and then number 3 is emotion. So that's the E in steps, is emotion. So having something that evokes an emotion. One of the examples was a travel company, and what they did is they went from showing, they had this one ad that was like, 20% off cruises, to, do you want to get away? Do you want to have a romantic getaway on a on a private island? And it talked about these sort of things, very Instagram-esque post, but it was on Facebook and it was an ad, and the return rate was just like not even close. Like, no one interacted with the sales pitch. Everyone interacted with this. Do you want to get away? They're asking, but the ad, the content that was created was all, geared towards creating a conversation. And that's the thing. So when you think about relaxation, when you think about this ad, what's the social currency? It is, do you want to get away? Get away is exclusive. So what's exclusive to, that's an exclusive thing. The other thing is the trigger. The trigger is when you think about relaxing, there's a picture of a beach, And so there's a trigger there. The emotion was they were talking about it. So maybe not the best example, but again, when you put this all together, you think social currency, triggers, and emotion. Those are things that you can put into your content and that you need to think about. So once you create the content, you can sort of write what you want to write. I just want to sell this product, and then go back over it and say, am I asking a question? Am I trying to engage my audience so that they know this is for them and not for everyone? Am I creating a trigger so that my audience knows that when they see this picture or when they hear me say escape, that they know to do this? And is there an emotion behind it? Am I tapping into the sort of the why they'd want this product, or why they want to like this content, or why they want to comment on this content? So the next one is a public topic. And this one is basically just news. Yeah. So when you think about creating content that is viral, one of the ways to do that is just tap into the news. So it could be, I saw this actually very recently, was, in 2018, we've got a bunch of things going on politically. And should the new Supreme Court justice be more conservative, what does that mean to blank? Like, I see that title pop up in the newsfeed. And so it's kind of a cool way to look at it. So if we have a more conservative, is a new Supreme Court justice going to impact our businesses as a whole? Let's see a raise of hands. Who thinks that that's going to make a major, major impact, life-changing impact in our businesses? Probably not. It could for some select businesses, but for most of us, whoever is president, whoever's elected in our sort of country's government isn't going to put us out of business, right? There may be some challenges. When Obamacare came out, but for better or worse, it hurt our business. It didn't put me out of business, but it hurt my business because I had to pay more for insurance than I was used to. So, it was just a byproduct of it. So it wasn't whether I liked it or not, so I don't want to make this a soapbox issue. The point was about the news feed being full of these comments about Supreme Court justice when it has nothing to do with business. But what they're doing is there is something that we're all interested in. So, I never really thought about that. How does it affect real estate? Oh, I never thought about how a more conservative judge would affect insurance. I never thought about how a Supreme Court judge could affect taxes on e-commerce, or why I need to go take more vacations because there could be a luxury tax or something. I never thought about that. And so just thinking about the current news, if you remember when we talked about sort of the ways to come up with blog titles, I can't remember the name of the episode, but we talked about newsjacking and sort of using the current news, using the current trends as a way to sort of tap into what's popular to drive traffic to your website. So public topics. The other one is practical value. So as you're making a post, and so this is STEP, PPPS. So we've got social currency, we got triggers, we got emotion, we got public topics, and now we've got practical value. So does your content teach them anything or have an action item? Now, don't take this too far. It could be an action item means that by buying your vacation, buying your sale, plans out their vacation. And so that's the practical application. That's the call to action. That's what it's called, call to action, because it's a call to action. So just something actionable. Does it teach them something? Does it give them value? As basically the mantra of the year is make great content, deliver great value to your audience, and you will receive it back. And then finally, stories. So these 6 things don't oxidate. Again, they all don't have to be inside of the content. It's just a way to guide to say, does my content give someone exclusivity? Does my content use human behavior and human habits in order to does it utilize that? Does my content have emotion? Does my content sort of take advantage of the news? Does my content provide some practical value? And does my content tell a story? And people love stories, good stories. People love now video stories. They're watching this. It's interesting. my children are watching more and more YouTube, in particular game streaming and other people. Like there's a channel called, I think it's in real life, is what IRL actually means on Twitch. It's literally like people just living their life. So like a real reality TV show. And that's like kind of interesting because there's a story there, especially if the person that's being shot, like it's not just a reality TV show, but they're actually telling their story on there. And so does your content do that? My friend Bo Henderson is a financial planner, and he's been interviewed on Forbes and all of this, but one of the things that he does on Facebook is brilliant, is that he shares stories. One of the things that got him into financial planning was that his father died at a really young age, and that sort of was a catalyst of sorts that put him into financial planning. It wasn't the only one, but it was one of many that, and it was one of the key ones that, because of the way that he was raised and the things that so he tells this story. I don't want to tell it for him. You can check him out. You can go to richlifeadvisors.com, find out all about Bo's story, and it's a good one. But he tells the story kind of over and over again in different ways on social media, and he gets a lot of engagement. And he's a great person to follow on social media if you want to learn how to do it the right way, where he's telling these stories over and over again. And so you sort of learn that I think life insurance is one of the greatest examples of this. And you may not like it because you're like, oh, I'm in e-commerce, or I've got a software company or whatever. But it's nobody wants life insurance. No one wants to talk about it, and everyone views life insurance salespeople as sort of awful people. And the reality of it is that one of the easier ways to sell life insurance is to tell the story. I met with a family, the widow, and this is the situation. So there's a fear story, but there's also could be a success story. And she lost her husband, but he had life insurance, and here's what happened afterwards. The ads that they show for life insurance on TV, if you've ever seen them, are, they use these stories. And so stories are powerful. And so in review, the 6 things that you want to look at in your content to make sure if it's going to have any chance at virality, any chance at being contagious and taking off and getting engagement, it needs to have at least one of these 6, but probably more than one of these 6 things. And so the acronym to remember is STEPPS. It's STEPPS, and that stands for social currency, so like exclusivity, triggers, which is like habits and behaviors, emotion, that's sort of self-explanatory. It's got to have some passion behind it, some sort of tap into someone's why. Public topics like a news article, what's currently trending. It doesn't have to be like news like ABC, Fox, or like that. It can be something trending on Twitter, for instance. And then 5 is practical. Is it something I can actually do with your content? Can I take this and use it? And then stories. Does it tell a story? So when you have all those 6, if you have all 6, then it's probably going to be some killer content. If you just have at least 1 or 2, though, you're on the right track. And that's what I would encourage you, is to look at the content you post this week and this month and next 30 days, and make sure that your content does these things. Did you provide value? I mean, that's the big thing, right? That's the big thing I've been talking about all year long. And so, in speaking of that, I want to bring great value to you. And the only way I can know that I'm doing that is if you email me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. That's Joshua, Joshua, at Forward. That's the number 4, RD, marketing.com. So joshua@forwardmarketing.com. And let me know. And the next few episodes, you're going to want to stay tuned. If you wanted me to cover 7 keys to YouTube success, I'm going to finally talk about YouTube and how to kill it on YouTube. I'm also going to talk about how to kill it on Facebook. I'm using the word kill it way too much, so I'm going to have to rewrite these titles. But oh well. 7. So I've got Facebook. I got 7 tips on Facebook. I got 7 tips on YouTube, and you can hear me turning the pages. And I've got 11 central places for you to share your content. Some of these we've already been talking about, and a few of these I bet are going to be surprises to you about where to go, especially some of you service professionals, the real estate agents, financial planners. There's a few places on here I bet you've never gone, or if you did, you cleaned out your history after you went there. But yet they're actually good places to go to share your content. So stay tuned in the next coming weeks for a few episodes around growth marketing. And thanks so much for listening. Make sure that I would love it if you rated us on iTunes, if you shared it with your friends. And so, yeah, I forgot to ask that on every single episode, but please do it. And I will catch you next week on the Forward Marketing Podcast.